Hi, this is the voice of Heidie Calero with another fascinating economic capsule regarding the Puerto Rico economy. As it has been our editorial line since we started in October of 2019, we would like to present to you, not only to educate you on the different economic indicators and data in Puerto Rico, but also to fast check the recent data that has been published by the governor to tell you the truth about the data that has been published in what is called Todos por Puerto Rico. It's like an ad that the government of Puerto Rico, with our taxpayers' money, has published. And they said that the first graph that I'm depicting for you, they said that the unemployment rate has been the lowest in this administration in history, in Puerto Rico's history. Well, the graph does depict that it is the lowest in history. It is now 6% as of December 2022. Notice these very high rates of 18.4%, even 17.1%. And it has been even lower just a few months before that, like in October, with 5.7% unemployment rate. So what we are depicting here is that we are seeing the unemployment reducing itself, not necessarily because jobs are coming in, but because people are just leaving the labor force, or they are deciding to enter into self-employment with establishing their own businesses, because after COVID, there were lots of people who were just watching all these workshops and all these interesting ideas regarding businesses that they could start. Instead of earning minimum wage, they could do much better off if they were to establish their business. So bear that in mind, but it is true, it is the lowest in Puerto Rico's history. The next statement was that economic growth, doesn't say the year, but we presume it's the latest fiscal year, which was fiscal year 2022. We are now currently in fiscal year 2023. The official figures have not been published, but the Puerto Rico Planning Board has published that, yes, it's about 4% real economic growth. And this graph that you're seeing here depicts from 2018, when we had negative 4.2% growth. Then it went up to 2.1%. In 2021, we finished with a very anemic, meager growth of 1%. So it's been like a roller coaster, mostly negative, and then just sparsely a few years with economic growth. So it has been surprising that suddenly the Puerto Rico Planning Board has published for 2022 that first column that you see there under forecast, which is in red, and it says 4%. But notice what the Puerto Rico Planning Board said back in August of 2021 when they published the short-term economic forecast. And they said, it's 0.8% for 2022, what we are estimating. That's the blue column that you see there. And then the lime green that you see there is the PROMESA, or the Oversight Fiscal Board, that publishes also forecasts of the economic growth of Puerto Rico. And they said that it would be 2.6% growth. So stark difference and contrast between 4%, 0.8%, and then a 2.6%. And another a modest growth in 2023. Now, Puerto Rico Planning Board for 2023 is estimating 0.7% growth, when about August of 2021, they were forecasting 1.7% economic growth in real terms. That's the blue column. And the Oversight Board of PROMESA, the lime green, forecasting 0.9%. So a decline in economic growth for 2023, but different ratios there, different magnitudes. So the truth of 4%, well, that's what the Puerto Rico Planning Board is forecasting. The official figures are not yet out. And so, as you see, there's a variety of forecasts, and so question mark whether it's going to be true that there is a 4% economic growth. The next statement that the governor made was more than 150,000 jobs have been created during this administration, which started back in January of 2021. As of 12/22, we have two surveys that the Department of Labor publishes. The charcoal gray line is the household survey, and effectively from January 21 through December 22, the difference between these two numbers does seem to imply that there was 150,000 jobs that were created. But there's always a but. There's the coin has two faces. And this is the other survey, the establishment survey, which is based on payroll jobs that all the establishments provide to the Department of Labor. And for many of us, it's a much more reliable figure than the household survey, at least in terms of jobs. And here the story is different. We did not, this administration did not create 150,000 jobs. It did generate 101,100 jobs. I mean, it's not despicable, but it's not the 150,000 that the governor said. The next statement is that there's an increase of over 5% in the labor participation rate. And this graph depicts the blue line, again with the orange line being the vertical line, being January of 2021 when this administration came into power. And effectively, from January 21 through December 2022, there has been an increase of about 4.7%. So rounding the numbers, about 5%. But remember again, the labor participation rate is based on the numerator is employees plus unemployed divided by that group of 16 years and older. So if that group of 16 years and older is declining because women are not having babies, because it has been slowing and we are an aging society, of course the labor participation rate is going to increase. So beware of statistics if they are not explained correctly to you. Then the next statement is record collections in fiscal revenues in the general fund. And this graph depicts that it is true. Again, the vertical line is January of 2021 through December of 2022. And compared to maybe the year of 2020, definitely the green line depicts very high levels of general fund revenues. We wonder then, why is it that our roads are not fixed? There's no public lighting. Why are we not getting some relief in terms of corporate taxes, or even the sales and use tax, or even some excise taxes? Because we are facing one of the highest inflation rates in history. And so we would like to see some of those collections being used for essential services and not just being there in Treasury. So again, this is the truth about this. And then finally, this last graph depicts for you the economic activity index, which tells another story, very different from that 4% real GNP growth that the Puerto Rico Planning Board is forecasting for 2022. This index has four physical indicators, monthly indicators, and it was prepared by the now defunct Government Development Bank, and the Economic Development Bank continued with this index, which has a good correlation in terms of the performance of the economic activity index and the performance of the economy in GNP growth. It's like 95% in terms of that correlation, which is very high. And so if you notice, these columns are in blue is the index. The orange vertical line is January of 2021. And the magenta line is the percentage change of these monthly indices, the same month compared 1 year ago. And there is nowhere that this would really tell us that there is a 4% GNP growth. It's very different from if we are going to have maybe 1.2, 1.3% of economic growth, that would be a great deal. But definitely it's not 4% growth. So there you are. This is the truth about some of these statistics and some of this data that the government tells us. Be aware, our editorial line is always be analytic as to what this data tells you. There is always two sides to this coin, and so we need to fast check all this data. Don't forget, if you like our economic capsules, to subscribe to the Voice of Heidie Calero. Give us a like in those capsules, And don't forget, this is a service of Puerto Rico Economic Pulse, and that the economy is all of us. Until next time.